Thank you. Y'all give it up one more time for our second vice president. She's doing a phenomenal job. Now, Ms. Porter and Ms. Butler have reminded me time and time again that I only have 10 minutes. So I assume there was some concern that I may go over. Before I get into my remarks here today and some special recognition, I do want to take an opportunity to recognize the elected officials and appointed officials that are here with us today. So if y'all are in the building, please stand. Come on, stand up, Courtney. And y'all can be seated. Now, see, one might call those leaders our drum majors. And see, Dr. King once talked about a drum major instinct, right? As I sit here today and look at his frat brothers. And although the drum major is the one conducting for the entire band to see and watch and to keep the time, the drum major is actually looking at the center snare's feet for the timing. See, Dr. King understood when he talked about the drum major's instinct that the center snare at the back of the band was as important as anybody leading it. See, Dr. King understood that he had to keep his eyes on the center snares for his feet to stay on time or on course. He understood that the person at the back was more important than the person twirling the baton at the front. He understood the drum major's instinct. Dr. King was saying that everybody in that band had to have the drum major's instinct. He told us that that drum major's instinct wasn't a bad thing to have either. You just had to culture it appropriately. He wanted the people around him to be leaders, to all think like the drum major. See, he wanted the folks that followed him to have their own thoughts. He just wanted it harnessed it properly. See, excerpts from this speech have been used in many forms. It was even used in his eulogy, where he talked about, don't tell them where I went to school. Just like biblical figures, he said, tell them about my work. See, the drum major instinct, he understood he was nothing without the horns. He understood that he was nothing without the beautiful sound of the flutes and the clarinets. He understood the importance of the center snare. The drum major understood the depths and importance of everybody around him. And although it was one band and one sound, the functions were very different. See, I got to believe that if Dr. King was around today, he would want justice for Ronald Green. I got to believe if Dr. King was around today, he would want justice for Dontrana Robinson. I got to believe if Dr. King was around today, he would want justice for Kalen Williams. I got to believe that if Dr. King was around today, he would want justice for Lewis Robinson. I got to believe that Dr. King would want justice for all. See, whether you take our boys in a uniform, or whether you take our boys in all black, or whether you take them laced with a fentanyl pill, you are our enemy, and we're going to take our streets back. That's the drum major's instinct. Not to pick or choose fights, just be where you need it. Tanya Miles, push. We need you to keep showing our babies other routes outside of drugs. Sat, Miss Liz, and the BR Street team, push. We need you to keep walking for peace. To the warriors, no justice, no peace. Fathers, hold your daughters and raise your sons. Mothers, give your boys confidence and correct your daughters. And brothers, keep your hands to yourself. You don't own these women. If you can't be a drum major nowhere else, you can definitely lead in your life in your home. And that's the drum major's instinct. And no matter what you're doing, always watch the center snare's feet to make sure that you're on course and time. See, our instruments may be different, but we're still one band. See, I once said to the 100 black women of Metro Baton Rouge that fingers in itself are part of fragile. They can be broken easily, right? But when you bring it together and you form a clenched fist, it turns into power almost automatically. See, we just need to get back to the fingers, though. See, we talk about the fingers. See, council people, we need you down there pushing economic development policies that are equitable for everybody. Mr. Tevin, Mr. Kimball, Mr. Brad, Chris Guillory, Myra, Diana, Gino, Whitfield, James, Dunn, we need y'all and other businesses and development minds in the room. Fairley, Jennifer, both of y'all, Finney, Tanya, the other allies, Councilwoman Adams, we need our allies. Reverend Flowers, Michael, Ronaldo, Smith, Williams, Ellis, and others, we need y'all too. Our warriors, Gary, Domino, Casa, Haley, Mona, Arwen, Carl, Bloodworth, Ellis, Harmon, Laramie, Amina, Bradford, Kate, Tia, Taylor, Peoples, Jetson, Mitchell, Porter, and Anderson, we need y'all too. And see, when we get all of those things together, Mayor Broom, can I borrow you for a second? Come on up here. So when we get all those fingers moving together and we all got our instruments, we're watching the center snare feet, and we close that fist up before we talk about power, Mayor, I need you to sprinkle it with a little black girl magic. Go ahead and sprinkle it, Mayor. There we go. And when we put it up, once we close that thing up, we're walking down the streets with a black power that can't nobody mess with. But we got to do it together. And see, if you ever need the NAACP, the largest and oldest, the baddest and the boldest, the most loved and most hated, the most feared and revered, the most cussed and discussed civil rights organization in America, you know how to reach us. Because we'll be there on the forefront, always being a guiding light for justice.